Welcome to Politics for Patriots. Here's your host, the eviscerator of progressive nonsense, the executioner of imbecility, and the grim reaper of BS, Eddie Zipper.
All right, welcome to episode 96 of the Politics for Patriots podcast. Please subscribe on iTunes, iHeartRadio, or wherever you get your podcasts. And while you're at it, I teamed up with Matt and Scott from Politics, who, if you've listened to Politics, their podcast before, you know that those guys are hilarious. And we have a new American history podcast out together. It's called Every Election Ever and Beer. All right, it starts with the election of George Washington, 1789. And for the next year, we are going to cover every single presidential election from 1789 up to the 2020 presidential election. And of course, there is beer. I just brewed a batch of beer using Thomas Jefferson's own recipe, and I'm going to brew several more presidential beers throughout the year and talk about those on the show. So please go to iTunes, subscribe to Every Election Ever and Beer, leave us a review, tell your friends to subscribe, grab their phones, open the podcast app, subscribe for them, if that's what you need to do. All right, that's it. Let's talk about politics now, and let's talk about the sham that is the Democrats' impeachment inquiry. The Democratic Party is, and before I say this, I want to be clear that I'm talking about the party as a political organization. I'm not talking about my neighbors who identify with the Democratic Party or your neighbors who call themselves Democrats. I am talking about the party as an organization. The Democratic Party is not, don't let anybody tell you otherwise, the Democratic Party is not a dumpster fire. Dumpster fires are something for the Democratic Party to look at and aspire to. All right, mommy and daddy dumpster fires point to the Democratic Party, and they tell their tiny little dumpster fire children, if you're not careful, that's what you'll become, kids. The Democratic Party, a cautionary tale that dumpster fires tell their children. The Democratic Party is the party of phony narratives. They subside on phony narratives. That's what they exist on. That is the fuel that makes the Democratic Party go. All right, if phony narratives were cookies, we all know who the Democratic Party would be.
Cookie! Nom, 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 oh, nom, 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 nom.
And it's a total and complete disgrace how the media gives them a pass on everything. I mean, think about the narratives that they've pushed since Trump has been elected president. There have been a ton of total BS narratives. Oh, they're going to get rid of net neutrality. Now Netflix is going to cost you $25 a movie. You remember that? That was a big thing that they pushed. Nonsense. Remember Nancy Pelosi on the GOP tax plan? This is Armageddon. There's so many. I mean, if you go back to the very beginning, people forget these things, which is convenient for the Democratic Party because you can't remember all this nonsense. Like, you can't just fill your head with dumb things that the Democratic Party has done and said. You remember right after Trump was elected, before he even became president, that the Democratic Party tweeted that Rex Tillerson, the guy that Trump had picked to be Secretary of State, was BFFs with Putin. Trump picked Putin's BFF to be Secretary of State. We should all be very scared. I mean, there have just been so many. You can't even compile a list. I mean, who has time? But you think about the big ones. The whole Kavanaugh is a sexual predator storyline. That was one of the most obnoxious of all of them. But the biggest one, the most notable phony narrative that the Democrats gobbled up was, of course, the Trump-Russia collusion hoax. You can forget about a lot of the other ones because they didn't last that long because nobody cared about, but the Trump-Russia collusion hoax, this was the one they went all in on. I mean, every single day, it was all day long Trump collusion hoax nonsense. Democrats at this point are completely, utterly, totally disinterested in any sort of policy. Because they lose on policy discussions because Trump's policies are kicking butt and the people running for the Democratic nomination want to spend trillions of non-existent dollars on every program to make everything free. Everything should be free. Elizabeth Warren's healthcare plan costs $52 trillion over 10 years. That's $5.2 trillion per year. That's more than the entire federal revenue, all of it. That's more than the federal government spends in a year. That means if you cut every single dime out of the budget, you would not free up enough money to pay for Elizabeth Warren's healthcare program. And that's just healthcare. She's got 10 programs that make everything free schools, pay off everybody's student loans. If you put 100% wealth tax on billionaires and you said, okay, every billionaire in this country has to turn over every dime that they have to give all of their money. It's a 100% tax to the federal government. It would not be enough money for Elizabeth Warren's health care plan, period. Democrats lose on policy because all of their ideas are based on some alternate universe math where 2 + 2 equals rainbows and unicorns. Because if it equals 4, the plans don't work. But if it equals rainbows and unicorns, we might be able to do this. In all honesty, Democrats do not want you looking at their embarrassing, disastrous primary. So what do they want you to do instead? They want, look over here at these, investigations.
The investigations are sexy. The investigations are sexy. The investigations are sexy.
I've got this fantastic clip that I found this morning. Listen to Adam Schiff on Rachel Maddow back in 2017. This clip is hilarious because Schiff is whining about how Republicans, this was back when Republicans were the majority party, Schiff is whining about how Republicans were issuing unilateral subpoenas. Schiff is saying that the process is unfair and disparate because the Republicans on the committee are just steamrolling over the Democrats. It's not fair. I wish you could see the chyron in front of him when I play this clip. The chyron in front of him says, Republicans issuing unilateral subpoenas without Democratic approval. The hypocrisy is never ending in politics. The hypocrisy never ends on either side, to be honest. But that's not even the good part of this clip. The good part of this clip is Adam Schiff claims that Republicans are issuing subpoenas because they are just trying to smear Christopher Steele. He talks about how Steele is highly respected among the intelligence community, a highly respected individual, and Republicans just want to smear him. Listen to this.
So I was concerned about both the disparate treatment here, but also really trying to antagonize the FBI and DOJ, trying to provoke a conflict, potentially special counsel. I think, Rachel, basically what's going on here is something that I saw back in my days as a prosecutor. Sometimes the defense opts for a strategy of trying to put the government on trial. And here I think there's a hope that if they can impeach Christopher Steele and they can impeach the FBI and DOJ, maybe they can impeach the whole Russia investigation. But that's not our purpose. It's really at cross purposes. We ought to be trying to figure out how much is accurate within what Mr. Steele reported, not trying to discredit him for some reason.
What a total hack this guy is. Republicans want to discredit Steele for some reason. That's awesome. Instant classic. Of course, Steele had to be awesome and fantastic, incredible, because this was back when Schiff was on his Russia dossier tour of the nation trying to act like Trump colluded with Russia. Oh, Trump is a Russian spy. You remember the mainstream media bought this narrative, hook, line, and sinker. Time magazine published the cover photo of the White House merging with the Kremlin. That's all you even need to remember. Just the White House merging with the Kremlin. Now, of course, now we know that that was all BS. It's proven that that was total made-up hysteria. I mean, even at the time, though, even a bunch of idiot Republicans were in Congress. They were just beside themselves believing the narrative. They were biting their nails going, oh my gosh, oh, the media is reporting that Trump colluded with Russia. It must be true. The media is reporting it, and they're reporting it in really scary words. So the media's reporting it. It must be true. We better get a special counsel. So we got one. And he investigated it with unlimited money, unlimited resources, and unlimited time, and concluded that there was no evidence that anyone in the Trump campaign colluded with the Russians in any way, which we already knew there was no evidence of that because nobody had come up with any evidence of that. A lot of people, including Adam Schiff, spent a lot of time saying that there was evidence, but not showing it to anybody. Where's the evidence? We still haven't seen it. Where's the evidence? There is none. It was a total Democratic con job from day one. But that didn't matter because by that time, Democrats had all jumped ship on collusion and they were rowing around in their little obstruction of justice dinghies. So there's Adam Schiff. Republicans are just trying to smear. This is what he said on Rachel Maddow's show. Basically, Republicans are just trying to smear all-around great guy Christopher Steele, who is so respected by bureaucrats in the intelligence community. They're just, for some reason, trying to smear him. So fast forward to now. They just released transcripts of the impeachment inquiry testimonies. And listen to what Fiona Hill testified to. Believe me, this is a part of the testimonies that you are not going to hear talked about on CNN. Jim Jordan. So I just want to be clear. There was a story done in Politico last month. In that reporting, it says Steele might have been played by the Russians into spreading disinformation. That's what you think happened with Fiona Hill. It's very likely that the Russians planted disinformation in and among other information that may have been truthful, because that's exactly, again, the way that they operate. And I think everyone should always be cognizant of that. Jim Jordan. Yeah, so information that Christopher Steele was played by the Russians, that information was used, as you well know, by our Justice Department, specifically our FBI, as part of the basis for securing a warrant to spy on an American citizen. Fiona Hill. I think it's already come out that that wasn't exactly the case, that the dossier was basically out there when those investigations had already taken place. Okay, I'm hitting the pause button on the transcript. The dossier is where the entire Russia narrative came from. The dossier gave birth to the Russia narrative. It was spread through our media by Steele himself, and who knows who else. Those media reports were used to confirm the dossier as though they were being reported independently of the dossier. So it's circular sourcing. It's like if I go and I tell Joe Sixpack, hey, Adam Schiff is Cookie Monster. And then I tell you, hey, did you know that Adam Schiff is Cookie Monster? You're like, wow, I don't know whether or not to believe you. And I'm like, yeah, seriously, go ask Joe Sixpack. He knows about it. And then you go ask Joe Sixpack, is Adam Schiff really Cookie Monster? And what is Joe Sixpack going to tell you? Yeah, my sources say, my anonymous source says that Joe Sixpack is Cookie Monster. And you're like, wow, that confirms it. Now I've heard it from two people. Yeah, who got it from the same place. Okay, Jim Jordan knows that that's not true. So Jim Jordan, well, that's not accurate. It was part of what was taken. Fiona Hill. Well, some of the information was that it had come through other ways. But look, I don't want to also get into, again, a discussion that could go down a classified avenue, because I just want to tell you on, really good authority that the Russians, I mean, again, we should all know this. The Senate has reconfirmed this again, attacked Jordan. I'm not disputing that. Fiona Hill attacked our democracy. And also, the point that actually hasn't come out, and again, why I've been very cross in the media, is that the president was attacked as well, because the Russians sought to discredit him. And I've been very unhappy with the media coverage of all of this, which is why I don't want to start, kind of basically doing testimony by virtue of an article you've read in Politico, because everybody wants to sensationalize things. Everybody wants to spend time looking at the things that seem sexy, and they don't actually want to look at, talk to what the facts are. Jordan, I'm not trying to do that. And this goes on for a little while, and she talks about how this Steele dossier is a rabbit hole, those are her words, that is full of Russian disinformation designed to hurt President Trump. Now in the year 2019, we all know that Steele's dossier is garbage, all right? We need no ghost come from the grave to tell us that. Or in this case, we need no bureaucrat come from Washington, D.C. to tell us that. We know that. But it's worth knowing that Schiff's hand-picked witness to try to impeach the president is exposing Schiff. Schiff is the most out-of-control partisan hack in all of Congress. He wanted to protect Steele from scrutiny. He wanted to protect the dossier from scrutiny. Anybody who misused the dossier at the FBI, he wanted to protect them from scrutiny. So he claimed that Republicans were trying to smear all of those people. Listen to this. This is the second half of the clip I played before of Schiff from 2017.
I honestly don't really understand what they hope to accomplish with this. Maybe they can discredit Mr. Steele, although he's held in very high regard within the intelligence community. Maybe they want to discredit people in the FBI or the Department of Justice. But what's to be gained about that? It doesn't undercut the fact that Russia hacked our election institutions and tried to influence the outcome of our election. It's only going to impede our ability to get at the facts. So I don't really understand what they hope to accomplish from this.
The dossier was literally Russian disinformation used to interfere in our election and to interfere in our government. It was paid for, by the way, by Hillary Clinton's campaign and the DNC, who paid Perkins Co., who paid Fusion GPS, who hired Christopher Steele to do that Oppo research. Made up Oppo research, as it turns out. All these people on the Democratic side, Hillary Clinton, the DNC, they purposefully brought Russian disinformation into our system. The phrase salacious and unverified has been attached to the dossier forever. We've heard it described that way, starting with Comey and then a million people afterward. Believe me, if it was verifiable, the media would have verified it by now. It was all they put their resources into for years, was trying to verify that stuff. The Democratic House would have verified it by now, because that's what they're spending all their time on. Mueller certainly would have verified it. He had unlimited resources, unlimited money, unlimited time, but he couldn't do it. It was Russian disinformation being used to try to damage the United States, and Adam Schiff was using MSNBC in this case, but he was all over TV back then, trying to protect the Russian disinformation from Republican skepticism. Republicans are just trying to smear Christopher Steele, call into question his credibility for some reason. These are the same people like Adam Schiff who are melting down because some dumbass Russian Facebook accounts were posting anti-Hillary memes. They tried to make that bigger than it was. I mean, yeah, that's bad. We don't want them doing that. We need to stop them from doing that. But we have a big system full of freedom of speech. It can absorb a few Facebook pages. The disinformation that they brought in, and the fact that they brought it into the FBI and the intelligence community where it was believed, that was way worse than the Facebook page. 1,000,000 times worse. Schiff was trying to protect Russian disinformation from Republican scrutiny. Why? Because he was on a mission to remove the president from office. He was on that mission then. He is on that mission now. And the Russian narrative fell apart. But by then, The Democrats wanted to take down Trump for obstruction of justice, it was just as quixotic because obstruction of justice without an underlying crime is asinine. Trump was undercutting the investigation. Oh, yep. Maybe if he did undercut the investigation, it had something to do with the fact that he was the only person in America who could know for sure that it was all bullshit. He knew that he didn't do the things that they were accusing him of. He knew that he didn't do them. He knew that the Steele dossier was disinformation because it was information about him that he knew wasn't true. So why the hell wouldn't he oppose the investigation based on Russian disinformation? And we're doing this again. And Adam Schiff is dead set on getting it right this time, fixing the mistake he made in the Russia investigation, which was this. Here's the big mistake that Adam Schiff made when he tried to take the president down over Russian collusion. He didn't rush it enough. When you whip up an angry mob, you have to get them to do mob-like things very quickly.
No, there's no justice like angry mob justice.
The term angry mob is tautological because really that's the only kind of mob that there is. Right? And this is how an angry mob works. You whip them up and then you make them do the mob things. Right? We don't call them... There's no such thing as reasonable mobs or logical mobs or waiting for the facts to come in mobs. There's no such thing as those. Anger. Anger is what propels mob justice. That's why it's so important to keep people angry at Trump all the time, 24 hours a day. You can never let people stop being mad at Trump for a minute. You can never say, okay, we're usually mad at Trump, but today Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi is dead and that's a good thing. You can't, because then your mob will disperse. If they stop being angry, if they cease to be angry, then they're just, what am I doing here? I'm just going to go home. I'm not angry anymore. I actually kind of like that thing that he did. You don't let your mob calm down. So what they did, they started with a narrative ahead of any facts. Trump colluded with Russia to steal the election from Hillary. Let's investigate. And at first, lots of people were on board. Even a lot of the boneheaded Republicans out there who believe whatever nonsensical narrative Democrats come up with, they just buy into it immediately because they think that that's the way to go about business. They think that's the way to win because they're idiots. So a lot of people were on board at first, even Republicans. The boneheaded Republicans, not all Republicans, but some Republicans were on board because they think, oh my gosh, the Democrats said it, it must be true. I'll have to operate on the assumption that it's true because I'm not skeptical of things that Democrats say, because if I am, then the media won't like me. And I need to be liked by the media. So you had all these people on board, but then the facts started to come out. Specifically, when the Mueller report came out, that was when it was dead. They lost all those people. Nobody believed, by the time the Mueller report came out, nobody believed in Trump-Russia collusion anymore. And now, it's going to be different this time. Now, he can rush it through. You got to keep the mob angry. By the time the Mueller report came out, the mob wasn't angry anymore because they did not believe that Trump colluded with Russia anymore. But now they have a House majority, the Democrats do, so they can rush. They can try to impeach Trump before the facts come out, but only if they hurry. Right? They started with a narrative again. Trump tried to pay Ukraine to investigate Biden. They made a big deal. Oh, we have this whistleblower that's going to tell you all about this phone call that Trump is hiding. Oops, Trump releases the phone call. Uh-oh. Okay, now it's not about the call and the whistleblower anymore. Now what's really important is a few bureaucrats' opinion of the call and the adjectives they use to describe it. And oh my gosh, they all agree that it's the end of democracy.
I am shocked. Shocked. Well, not that shocked.
Look, I'm willing to stipulate that every bureaucrat Schiff allows us to hear from will share that opinion, that it was bad and that Trump is trying to pay Ukraine to investigate Biden. That's fine. They're all going to say it. That's why they're allowed to talk. If they were going to say, oh, you know what, I don't think it was that way, they're not allowed to talk. this is a waste of time because you know that they're all going to have the same analysis or opinion of the call because that's who's allowed to talk. If you have a different opinion, you're not going to be called in to talk about it. So why even waste the time? Why don't we all stipulate that Adam Schiff can dig up bureaucrat after bureaucrat who thinks it's bad? We can't hear from anybody who has a different opinion of the call, though, because that will hurt the narrative. One of the other bureaucrats who testified was Yovanovitch, and we only know this because of reporting from the Tucker Carlson's team on his show. But Yovanovitch apparently was dishonest under oath. She told Congress that she didn't respond. Well, she indicated that she did not respond to an email from a Democratic congressional staffer, one that staffer should not have been sending, that said, hey, we need to meet with you about a quite delicate and time-sensitive matter. She indicated to, I think it was Representative Lee Zeldin, that she didn't respond to that email. But guess what? She did. She responded, I can't wait to talk to you or something. I want to know why she needed to hide that meeting that apparently took. If she said, I can't wait to talk to you, then I assume that she talked to them. I would like to know what she said to them. I would like to know what that meeting was about, especially given the fact that she felt the need to lie under oath in order to hide it. But no, we mustn't question the plan of our bureaucratic overlords. They know what's best for us, and they're trying to get rid of Trump, so we mustn't interfere with our opinions and our logic. It's the bureaucracy that's a danger to our democracy. Everybody likes to talk, Democrats like to use the phrase, danger to our democracy, all the time, because it's just constantly, it's like, oh my God, Trump chewed gum today. He's a danger to our democracy. You know what? The bureaucracy, that is a danger to our democracy. People that I did not elect and you did not elect, and they run everything. They're the danger. If someone that I went and voted for and you went and voted for, and that person got elected because they got the most votes, if they're a danger to democracy, then maybe there's something wrong with democracy. But if bureaucrats who nobody elected are a danger to democracy, then that just makes sense. Why wouldn't they be a danger to democracy? That's not how they got there. So we already know that the whistleblower is damaged beyond repair. It's the biggest crime in the world right now to say that person's name, because then you can find out how tied to all the anti-Trump deep staters he is, and you can find out all about his connection to Joe Biden, and you can see why he's blowing a whistle on Trump, finger quotes, because he hates Trump, obviously. You can tell. You can see his connection to all the political machinations that are going on. This is all another ploy to get Trump. It's just the latest in a ploy that started with tell the electors not to vote for Trump. That's what it started with, and that it was impeach him because emoluments. And then it was, we have to use the 25th Amendment. And then he got a checkup from his doctor, and his doctor said he's in really good health. And the Democrats said, no, the doctor's lying. He's dying. We're experts. He's dying. They're stupid. Trump is dying. We've got to remove him from office via the 25th Amendment that we just learned about. Then we had to impeach him for Russian collusion, and then we had to impeach him because of the obstruction of justice, where he apparently tried to stymie the investigation into things that he already knew that he didn't do because Mueller found that he didn't do them. I think then it was emoluments again. I mean, it never stops. You've got every day Trump needs to be impeached for something. Every day there's a new story that 50 bureaucrats signed a letter saying Trump did a bad thing. Who cares? Who cares what they think? Nobody elected them to anything. This is all another ploy to get Trump, just the latest in a very long list. Schiff is the Joe McCarthy of the 21st century, and everyone sees it. Everyone's smart. Everyone with a brain can see what a conniving scumbag who makes up phony narratives that Adam Schiff is. All right, support for impeachment has fallen across the board since, let's say, I'm looking at the 538 average of polls right now. Mid-October, it hit highs, 85% among Democrats, 48% among independents, and 15% among Republicans. Since mid-October, it has fallen 2 points among Democrats, 4 points among independents, and 4 points among Republicans. And these are averages. Averages move more slowly. This is not the same as if I'm looking at a poll and I go, oh, and here's a much different looking poll that just came out. Look how much it's changed. The averages tells you that they had a bunch of folks on fire for impeachment, and the more facts that we get, the more the support drops. It should be the other way around. As the facts come out, support should go up, but support is going down. Even among Democrats, 2 points so far. Of 4 among Republicans and 4 among independents, everybody sees through this stuff. The more facts come out, the more we see what a partisan, nonsensical scam this all is. The Democratic Party is an apocalyptic nightmare. They are out to get Trump no matter what, and everyone paying attention sees it. All right, that's it for today. Don't forget to subscribe to the podcast on iTunes, iHeartRadio, or wherever you get podcasts. And please don't forget to subscribe on iTunes to our new American History podcast, Every Election Ever, and Beer. All right, that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed the show. Have a good one.
Maybe they can discredit Mr. Steele, although he's held in very high regard within the intelligence community.
You just listened to Politics for Patriots with Eddie Zipper. Email the show at patriots@eddiezipper.com. And please subscribe.